Hi and welcome to Dean Park. This is the third of my question and answer session videos. The questions today come from my Facebook group and through Facebook messages. If you also use the comment section on the videos, I take note of the questions that you ask and I try and address them at some point, whether privately or through one of these videos. Hope you enjoy. Cheers. Very early on when I was doing my static grassing, I got into using different brands of material. I don't just focus on one manufacturer. I started off by using Woodland Scenics static grasses, and I very quickly moved on to this miniature range from Silfor. They do a really good range from spring, summer, early fall through to late fall and winter, and they do it in 2, 4.5, 6 millimetre lengths. I also use WWS. They have longer lengths available in different tones as well, which I like to mix with the miniature stuff. What I would say, if you were putting different lengths of static grass down, do maybe a 4 and a 6 at once to give that variation, because there's not a big difference in the height of the grass there, so that will adhere quite well from the static grass applicator. If you're using a 10mm, like really long straw, do that after you've done the 6. If you mix the 10 in with the 6, it tends to not come out as well. So a wee bit of advice there: use the different lengths separately. And you can build up the layers using spray adhesive or the WWS layering spray as well. If you want to see how I static grass, if you check out the video on my embankment, the link's at the top of the screen, it will show you how I did that. Next question: Dave, why are your locos and your cars so clean? Simple answer: I've not got around to doing them yet. With regard to the cars, I have started to tone them down, put a satin varnish on the paintwork to give it a less shiny appearance. I did that with the van sitting in front of you here, and I've given it subtle grime weathering around the bottom and the bumpers and the front windscreen. That goes on the building site. The roof's even been given a dusting to enhance the roof ribs. The rest of the vehicles will be done as and when I've got time. With a 25 by 11 foot layout and only half of it scenically complete, there really are other priorities at the moment, to be honest with you. With regard to the locos, I've not acquired that skill of weathering them yet. I will do at some point, but as again I said, it's all down to priorities. The next question I'm often asked is, Dave, where'd you get your ideas from? 3 main sources for this: 1, my imagination; 2, real life; and 3, photographs. For example, when I'm doing the TMD just now, I'm trying to look at photographs of, say, Haymarket and Craigentinney depots back in the 1980s to get a feel for what it was like, what the track was like, what colour of ballast was used, what features were there, what outbuildings were there. You know, just the details that I like to work into my layout. Details are really what makes a train set into a model rail layout. If you're looking at the finer details, speed signs, working lights, you know, little cameos on the, for example, in front of you there's a dad waiting on the platform, his son's waiting or taking the number of the train sitting there. You've got the modern speed signs alongside the older speed signs. You've got, you know, the changes of transition from, you know, older stock into newer stock. It really is to tell a story, and that comes from imagination as well as looking at photographs. Any of my ideas that I've used in the layout that you like, they are, you know, they're not copyrighted. I've put them on YouTube for people to, you know, like, watch, take inspiration from, criticise. You know, it's entirely up to you. Take any bit of the layout you want, and if you like it, recreate it. If you want to know how I did it, just ask me. On my upper section of the layout, where my high-speed main line is, I've used cant or super elevation for transition into the curves. Now, what this does is it allows the track to kind of be at an angle around the curve to allow the train to go around quicker, and that's what they do in the real world. You can probably see the middle track there. It's supposed to be subtle. You know, it's got the impression that track is kind of curving, with the left hand side slightly higher than the right hand side. That's the transition. As it gets into the curve, it might bank a little bit more and then transition out to flat again. There's many ways to do this. You can simply stick an extra bit of cork on the outside left of the curve and that'll do it, but you've got to be careful that you don't just suddenly go from flat to 2mm cant, because the trains will derail, and there's nothing more unrealistic than, you know, trains bouncing around. So try and transition it in. I know Richard from Everard Junction uses bits of plasticard to good effect on his cant. What I've used is the Tillig super elevation foam pieces. You can almost see them sticking out the side there, and they're basically like very thin slices of foam with one side at 2mm down to basically 0 at the other side. And they're reversible, so you can use them on both types of curves. But what I do is I place it under the left hand side, in this case, the left hand side of the track. You can see them on that one as well. I've cut snips out of them because they come in long straight sections, so if you cut snips out them little V's, it allows you to bend them around the curve. And on the right hand side, there's none. It, you know, kind of stopped just before the outside of the sleeper, so it gives that cant. Okay, and I try and vary it in so it doesn't suddenly go from flat to the Tillig canting. I'll use thinner pieces and just manipulate it a little bit. I'll try and haul out a video where I did this, and if I can, the link will be at the top of the screen. But certainly if you're using a high-speed main line, you really want to put some form of banking, cant, super elevation, whatever you call it. There's more than one way to do it. I've just chosen to use the foam. During my Dean Park Awards video at the tail end of 2018, I highlighted the technology that I'd used to install CCTV cameras onto Dean Park. And the purpose of this was basically so I could see the storage yard at the end of the layout, which is hidden by a back scene, without actually getting out of my seat. And all the turnouts are fully controlled from the panel via the ECOS, so I can sit there and basically shunt from my main control panel right here. I got them from eBay. Buyee is the brand on the monitor, and in one pack you get 2 CCTV cameras and 1 monitor, and the monitor can flick between the 2 cameras. Okay, so if I did, there's V1 and V2, these aren't fixed down just yet, V1 and V2, so that's it. They're cameras at both ends of the storage yard, whereas this one, they're central cameras. There's a camera up on the screen there actually where I'll flick to, which is that one, and then that's the other side of the exit of the main section. So you can manipulate which ones you want. I've placed them on the trusses and put some cross beams in there as well to hold the cameras up. I'll go to the other end where the storage yard is and show you the cameras themselves. Right, CCTV camera. I've got one on each side of the member that I've put in here. They've got a sun visor on them because they're meant for HGV lorries, so they've obviously got to keep the sun off them. Get that one out of the way. Obviously got the lens in there. You've got night vision. You can actually, it works in the dark because obviously lorries have to reverse in the dark as well as daylight, so they're very handy. Even though you're doing some night running scenes on the layout, you can still see the storage yard, which is great. Simple wiring. They go from the camera into a socket, then from the socket, just like you wire up your TV, round to the back of the cameras, and it's so simple. I've got the 10-metre lead pack because I needed, I think it's about 9 and a bit actually from here, the furthest point, round to the control panel. So obviously I've wired it down the left hand side of the storage yard, all hidden under the baseboards, can't see a thing. Nice and tidy and neat. And up until now, they've worked a treat. The final question in the post bag this month is, how many locomotives do you actually have? The answer to that is too many. What I'll probably do is I'll put a Meet the Fleet series of videos up very shortly, where I'll go through the locomotive fleet that I have. With regard to coaches, it really is based around the British Rail standard coaches. So I've got the BR Mark 1, the Mark 2 in various guises, from the A right through to the F, from both Hornby and Bachmann. I've also got copious amounts of Mark 3 coaches. That is really my favourite piece of rolling stock. I've got them in all liveries, I think, from the BR period, from blue grey right the way through to swallow. I've even got some more modern image ones in the Virgin East Coast. So that's the most numerous of the coaches. I've got some Mark 4s as well to go with my Class 91, which doesn't make an outing or appearance on the layout often because it's a pretty poor performer.